So with this video, I just want to talk a little bit about Pokemon, just like my history with it and what I feel about it right now. So starting off with the anime, that's where I first started my Pokemon journey. I remember the first episode I seen was the Primate episode, and I thought it was a lot of fun. It really kind of hooked me into the series. I loved the characters, I loved the animation style. There's something about, like, because that was the first anime I would have seen as well. So like I wasn't really used to seeing cartoons done in that style, but it was something really about that really drew me into it. And I'm happy it did, because I found other anime through it, like Digimon and Dragon Ball Z, which even to this day are some of my favorite animes of all time. Unfortunately, I never really got into the games. I always wanted to get into the games, but I could never get into the games. So it was like, I always wanted a Game Boy. I didn't have a Game Boy. I had a Mega Drive, and yeah, every time I'd ask my parents for a Game Boy or whatever, like, nah, you can't have that, you can't have that. It was just, okay, it's fine. I just get, because they've seen it as, oh, you already have a Sega, you've spent enough time in video games, you don't need to be spending more time on video games, because obviously you play this out in the car. Come on, it's like I'd literally 100% of my time just be on video games. But yeah, I never really got to play any Pokemon games until my friend showed me Pokemon Silver, and I loved that game so much. It was such a cool game. I didn't get to play a whole lot of it. I only got to play like a little bit, because he didn't want me to progress too much further, because I'd end up like ruining his save day or some shit, maybe hitting something that he wanted to experience himself. So whatever reason, I just didn't get to kind of progress any further. Yeah, it was kind of like, it really left me wanting to play more Pokemon games. So by the time I actually got to play another Pokemon game after that, was actually when Diamond came out. It wasn't even mine, it was actually my brother's. My brother got Pokemon Diamond. Actually, my sister got Pokemon Rescue Team Blue as well, and I played that. Is one reason I loved the Mystery Dungeon games, is like that was the first kind of like time I got to actually sit down and just kind of like do what I wanted with a Pokemon game and just kind of like play it. It was obviously not the mainline experience, but it was still a fun experience, and one that I really love, and obviously picked up DX when that came out, and I had a lot of fun with that, just kind of like going for like the nostalgia of like playing that original Mystery Dungeon title. Around the same time, my brother got Pokemon Diamond, and he sat down, but it was the same thing as when I had played Pokemon Silver on my friend's Game Boy. It was like, he wouldn't let me progress, because obviously same thing, you're gonna ruin his storyline. He wants to experience something, so you can. So a few months later I got a DS, and later on I picked up Pokemon Pearl with it, and it was a lot of fun. I remember my brother got really back into Diamond, because now he could like trade Pokemon back and forth and kind of complete his Pokedex, so we both kind of restarted our journey. Fun fact, I actually have a lot of my brother's older Pokemon still from when we used to do all this, and they're on my DS still, on my Heart Gold cartridge, and it's just a lot of fun to kind of go back and just kind of like look at those Pokemon, just see what teams that we had back then and stuff. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Even at this point though, it was like Diamond and Pearl had already been out for a long time. Like, I think at this point, like, they were already coming out with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but I had played through a lot of Pearl. I finished that one, and it left me wanting to play another Pokemon game, which is when I went on to Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Heart Gold and Soul Silver were just sick. I loved them. Now unfortunately I got them secondhand. They didn't come with the Pokewalker, so I never actually got to experience them with a Pokewalker, but it was fine, because I could still kind of play through the game. The game plays normally. I know what a Pokewalker does. Like, this is just like store Pokemon, you can get items or something. I think that's all it was, so I wasn't too stressed about it. But I remember finishing that, and that was so fun, because there was all the OG Pokemon that I missed out on getting, like from Diamond and Pearl, because Diamond and Pearl is like, they Gen 4 whatever, they have their own set of Pokemon or whatever, their own rules or whatever, which I actually stopped following the anime, so I wasn't even familiar with any of these Pokemon. But that was so cool about it, was like all these new designs or whatever. But when I played Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and I seen all these like older Pokemon, it was like, oh man, it's like such a nostalgia trip. I finally got to have a Charmander. I was always wondering why I couldn't get Charmander in Diamond and Pearl. I just never understood why, but obviously different regions, different stars, which I came to learn later on. But yeah, it was like, then in Heart Gold Soul Silver I finally got Charmander, but it was towards the end of the game, so I was like, I reset Heart Gold and Soul Silver, just traded my Pokemon back and forth or whatever, and I started the game with a Charmander, and that's what I done on my second run through, and it was just so fun being able to actually experience that game, which Heart Gold and Soul Silver, by the way, the best Pokemon games ever. I will say that now. I'm still gonna wait and see what Scarlet and Violet are like, but for now, Heart Gold Soul Silver is still my favorite Pokemon games. So by the time I finished these, Black and White was coming out. Black and White was such a sick game as well. It was just like, I didn't appreciate it at the time, by the way, and I really should have. Because what Black and White were doing was they were completely rebooting the whole Pokemon kind of like video game franchise at that point. This is like, everything was brand new. There was a whole new region. There was a whole new load of Pokemon that you can get. It wasn't until you went through and beat the main game that you can go back into post game and just kind of like pick up some of the old Pokemon from there then. But it was a lot of fun. Like I says, at that time I didn't like it. It looked, I don't know, there was something about the look of it I just did not like. But I did later on come to obviously enjoy it for what it was, because it's like, you appreciate them when you go back and you see they were trying something different. But as time went on, I've gone back and forth to Black and White, and I actually do appreciate them. They're actually some decent games, you know. With the kind of like the story seems a little bit more like, that's where the narrative was kind of like pushing a little bit more for me, I find, where they're really coming up with some sort of backstory or whatever for characters and stuff. The other thing Black and White done then obviously was like, I appreciated the newer designs, which I was one of them Gen 1ers. Like, I was one of the worst Gen 1ers you would ever see. But I mean, like, I still love Charizard. Charizard is still my favorite Pokemon, but I can appreciate each region for what they are, except for Sun and Moon. But I'll get to that in a bit. For what the next games brought out, because I think I had a 3DS, but there was no 3DS games coming out. I think Black and White and Black and White 2 are coming out on the DS, even though the 3DS was already out at that point. I don't know the timeline, by the way. I'm just guessing this stuff. I had a 3DS, and I was waiting for a Pokemon 3DS game. It just never happened until X and Y. And X and Y, for me, I know a lot of people hate X and Y. I love X and Y. X and Y, I remember getting it for Christmas one year, and it was just such a good game. It was actually my girlfriend, then my wife now. We sat down, we played a little bit of Pokemon. I actually had Pokemon X and Y. I gave her X, I played through Y. And we were kind of like playing together. It's like trading Pokemon back and forth or whatever. It was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed that. But it was so sick. I know a lot of people didn't like the roster. I didn't really care for the roster, to be honest. I was just happy to see Pokemon in a 3D environment. And it gave us Mega Evolution, and Mega Evolution is just, in my opinion, one of the best gimmicks in Pokemon. I think to this day I haven't enjoyed Z moves. I haven't enjoyed that Dynamax stuff. It's like, I think if they're adding a battle gimmick, I love the Mega Evolution. So Oris came out. I played Ruby, Omega Ruby, and I had some fun with it. I won't say like it was the worst experience ever, but it was, I felt around that time I was kind of moving away from Pokemon. I wasn't enjoying it as much. Then Sun and Moon came out, and Sun and Moon, I haven't even finished Sun and Moon yet, to be honest. I just really did not enjoy them ones at all. They weren't for me. I kind of miss gym battles. It seemed like they were wanting to move away from gym battles and do other stuff, but the trials they had or whatever, they still seemed like gym battles, just more drawn out, a little bit more chaotic. I didn't like them. I preferred the gym battle system. But I do want to say, like, fair play to Pokemon for wanting to try new stuff. I mean, like, I enjoy seeing when a franchise, especially a franchise as old as Pokemon, get a little bit experimental and try new stuff. But Sun and Moon, again, it just wasn't for me. Same with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I started those games. I don't think I got more than like 5 hours in. I just couldn't play them. I was like, I didn't know what it was. There's something about those games I just absolutely hated. I don't know. I was like, I can't even go back to them. Every time I turn them on, I was like, nah, not for me. I just leave them off. But then I think it was Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield came out. They're very forgettable games, and they're very bland. I'm sorry if I'm seeming very pessimistic here, but they're just not for me. But to skip on to like Arceus. Arceus is when Pokemon really kind of grabbed my attention again. It's like, it shook up the whole game. I loved that whole kind of like free flow, just walk around, see Pokemon walking out in the wild. It's like being able to just like jump into battle, have the Pokemon attack you, is like having that kind of like, it was almost like the anime where like you could interact with the nature of the Pokemon world and it can interact with you. And I really liked that. I think it's a lot of fun. I haven't really kept up with a lot of news on Scarlet and Violet. I'm hoping this is going to be like big for me to get back into Pokemon, because like I says, I really enjoyed Arceus. I want to see what they're going to do now with this new one. I've heard a few little bits, not a whole lot. I'm trying to stay away from spoilers, so thankfully it's only a couple of days to go. I think by the time you see this, probably today or tomorrow, the new Pokemon game will be out. But it's been a fun journey. I'm going to be playing Scarlet and Violet on the channel here over the weekend, and I'm hoping I'm gonna try and mix it up and just throw it in there every now and again as well. Maybe not play my whole story, my whole like journey, but definitely the start of it. I'm gonna be mixing it up with some battles, playing with some people online and stuff. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to this gen for a while. I've seen Fuecoco is the dude I'm gonna pick. I always pick fire, except for Gen 5, I pick Snivy, but I nearly always pick fire. Fuecoco is looking like he's going to be one of my favorite starters anyways. Yeah, definitely look forward to training Fuecoco, looking forward to exploring this new region, looking forward to seeing, there's a lot in this game. There's like, I'm hearing little bits. I'm avoiding spoilers as much as possible. I've heard a couple of little bits that have kind of like grabbed my interest, and I'm expecting this to be one of the better Pokemon journeys that I've had in a very, very long time. And I'm hoping it gets me back into Pokemon like I was around 10 years ago. I was big into Pokemon. I just kind of like, I kind of miss those days. I want to get back to that. But for now, that's about it. Thanks very much, and I'll see you again. Bye bye.